These were the good surprise players for the St. Louis Cardinals in 2024.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. If you are a more visually stimulated type of fan, also available on YouTube. If you haven't stopped by yet, please do so. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss a single episode, because this is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So the St. Louis Cardinals 2024 season was littered with good and bad performances, which we touched on in the things that went right and things that went wrong episodes. So if you haven't seen those yet, I encourage you to go back into our library. Check them out for yourself in case you missed them. But today, I want to tackle the biggest surprises from the season, but the good ones. Okay, we're gonna start with the good ones, because the more and more that I went through what happened this past year, the more I was like, there's a lot of good that went on as well as bad. And I know that focusing on the bad is something that a lot of people like to do, and that's okay. But today we're not going to get negative. All right. Today we're going to stay positive on a Monday. This team wasn't a full-blown disaster last year, despite what people may say in talk radio around town and what fans might say. You see a lot more negative stuff online than you do see positive stuff. That's just the nature of things like Twitter. But it just wasn't a full-blown disaster like people make it out to be. 83 wins is not bottom of the league, bottom of the barrel bad. This isn't Mike Tyson, Jake Paul bad from this weekend. It wasn't Netflix trying to figure out their buffering this weekend during that fight when they knew everybody was going to be coming in to watch it. It's not that bad. It isn't where you want to be by any means. I'm not letting the Cardinals off the hook when we talk about these things, but it just wasn't the disaster like 2023 was. That was a disaster. That was like, what has happened this year was actually a step in the right direction. And now we're moving in a totally different direction where we're going to go with a more youthful approach in 2025. But the standards, yes, have to be higher than 83 wins. The standard should be a World Series each and every year. Okay, that's not going to change, and it shouldn't change. But I do want to focus on some good things. You know this. I know this. It's got to be better. We don't want to settle for mediocrity. Not a good idea. And I agree with you on that. And I'm not settling. I just want to point out some of the positives and good surprises that we did see here in 2024, because there was plenty to go around. So let's start out with what I consider the most positive thing from the 2024 season, and that was Masyn Winn. Shortstop Masyn Winn tops on the list for me, because faith in Masyn Winn, at least from a fan perspective, it had waned a little bit after he got called up in 2023, and he struggled at the plate. At the ripe old age of 21, sometimes I have to remind people how young some of these guys really are. Winn made 137 plate appearances at the end of that ugly 2023 season, and he fit right in with what was going on that year. Hit 172, the OPS plus of 28, his WAR minus 0.6. Okay, not great. And those stats had many wondering if he was actually even good enough to hit at the major league level. People were questioning it. And in this world of wanting things right now, we always need things right now, this moment, no patience. Everybody is in a freaking hurry. It caused some people to panic. And I tried to remind people when it was going on at the end of the year that every level of baseball that Masyn Winn got promoted to, he immediately struggled out of the gate. Every single time. A-ball, double-A, triple-A. There were struggles. There were adjustments that had to be made. So him coming up at the end of the year and not having a whole lot of success, it didn't surprise me by any means, but it didn't bother me either. But it caused some people to panic. My timeline and comments were littered with people who had made up their mind after 37 games that he played that year that Masyn Winn was garbage. He was a bust. You got to trade him, get him out of here. Similar fashion about the way people are talking about Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker already. That they suck. It's over. Give up on them. Get rid of them. And baseball is not that type of game and that type of business. You know, this is a game that is meant to be slow played a little bit. And you got to kind of think that way when it comes to your prospects too. Because now you're talking about Masyn Winn as your new face of the franchise, in my opinion. He was easily one of the best rookies in all of baseball in 2024. The fact that he's not in the NL Rookie of the Year voting, it's not a slap in the face to Masyn Winn. It just shows you how much talent was actually there in the National League this year. I mean, we're talking about Paul Skeens, generational type pitcher, Jackson Chourio, Jackson Merrill. Those are the other two finalists. They were all outstanding this year. Masyn Winn belongs in the conversation with them. If they had four finalists, I think Masyn Winn would be that fourth guy. Hit 268, 15 home runs, 57 RBIs, 85 runs scored, 11 stolen bases, OPS plus of 102. His WAR was 4.9. His WAR is actually better than both Jackson Chourio and Jackson Merrill. But they were on better teams. They went to the playoffs. They had a much higher OPS plus. So I get it. But it doesn't take away what Masyn Winn did. And I think him being as good as he was, both offensively and defensively, leading all Major League shortstops in defensive run save with 14, and being a Gold Glove finalist, I think that was a really good surprise for sure. Who wants to argue with me on that it wasn't a good surprise? Like, if you thought that Masyn Winn was going to be Gold Glove caliber defense this year, raise your hand. Go ahead. Raise your hand. I didn't. I thought he'd be good. I didn't think he'd be right there. So that was a big surprise, and a good surprise, obviously. And then on top of the on-the-field stuff that he has shown you, you've got the off-field maturity that he displayed this year. He's just got, he's got a nice, calm, relaxed demeanor about him. Although sometimes when he gets upset, he'll drop an F-bomb once in a while, but so what? But he's got a cool look about him, and you saw him plastered everywhere when it came to promotional photos for uniforms and giveaways, and he's a star in the making. So to have him as the centerpiece of this reset is certainly a plus for the Cardinals at arguably the most important position on a team. People will tell you that shortstop is the most difficult position to play. And if you got a leader and a captain type of guy that plays that position, it's huge. And the Cardinals have a guy like that in Masyn Winn. So whether you were a believer in Masyn or not, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying he exceeded expectations for most of us this year, and was a good surprise. Good surprise. We're going to head to the outfield for our next group of surprises. We'll do that here on Locked On Cardinals. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is going to give you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL. It's all in one place. We've got Monday Night Football tonight. It's a battle of Texas, and a lot of my friends and my wife, they are not excited about this game at all. But it is the Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are an absolute disaster so far this year. They don't have Dak Prescott anymore. They didn't figure out their running game. CeeDee Lamb's all upset. Like, it's a mess in Dallas. And personally, I kind of laugh at it. But if you're going to make any bets tonight, obviously jump onto the FanDuel app. I am all in on Texans running back Joe Mixon tonight. Give me all the Mixon. Give me the overs on all the Mixon stuff. That's what I'm going with. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, and maybe you're starting to feel good about certain players in games, you can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, so much more, right there on the same page where you actually place your bet. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win. your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter, X, anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. We're going to get back to some fan feedback segments this week. Last week, busy week. Didn't get a chance to do a lot of those, so we're going to get back to it this week. So leave your opinions down below, good, bad, whatever it is you want to get off your chest. Let me know. We'll talk about it this week. My everydayers are not going to be shocked by my next choice for biggest surprises of the season, but here he is in all his glory, the one, the only, Michael Siani. Yeah, Siani is arguably one of the biggest surprises of the whole season, considering where he was at the beginning of spring training. When we talked about the outfield depth chart, Michael Siani's name was hardly a blip on the radar. If Michael Siani had been standing in a lineup, you would not have known it was him. In spring training, you would have no idea what that man looked like. You didn't have a clue. Don't lie. The idea going into the season, and it was a good idea, it was a wonderful dream, that you would have a Lars Nootbaar in left field, Tommy Edman in center field, and Jordan Walker in right field. That's what it was supposed to look like this year. It didn't even come close to looking like that at any point this season. But that was supposed to be your starting outfield the majority of the time. Then behind them, you were going to have Dylan Carlson, who could play all three spots, Alec Burleson and Brendan Donovan, who could play in the corners. And then way down at the bottom, you found the name Michael Siani, a former fourth-round pick out of high school by the Cincinnati Reds in 2018. Cardinals claimed him off waivers back in September of 2023 at the end of their horrible season. And in no way, shape, or form was Michael Siani really supposed to be on this roster at the beginning of the year. And he sure as hell was not expected to play in 124 games and compete for a Gold Glove. But with Tommy Edman, Lars Nootbaar, and Dylan Carlson all getting injured in spring training, and Victor Scott II not really ready to hit at the major league level, there he was in center field, getting regular playing time by mid-April. And we can clown him for his offensive inadequacies all we want. In fact, that's why I put this picture of him up on YouTube right now of him actually swinging the bat. Because certainly not known for his offensive capabilities, right? The stats don't lie. He had 228, 2 home runs, 20 RBIs. His OPS plus was 61 and almost 300 at bats. I know that's not good. I realize this. Not nearly good enough for a starting Major League Baseball player. But you cannot tell me that you weren't shocked and surprised by his lockdown defense in center field that had him finish the year with a +9 defensive runs saved and an outs above average of 15. What he wasn't giving you at the plate, he was making up for it by saving this pitching staff with plays on defense. Running balls down in the gap, making diving plays. Like he, almost every game, 1 or 2 web gem caliber type of plays Michael Siani was making. And then he was making strides offensively before the oblique injury that knocked him out in early August, because he was trending up early on. Disgusting. Terrible at the plate. 128 that first month. And he got better. 254 in May, 277 in June, was hitting 310 in July. Was coming around. Things were starting to find grass for him when he was putting the ball in play. And then the injury happened, and he was knocked out for about a month, and then he did not look very good at the plate at the very end of the year. Just didn't. Now, is he going to be your starting center fielder in 2025? Or should he be? Probably not. Probably not. To be, just being honest with you, I'm a fan of him. I was rooting for him because he's an underdog story. And I don't even know if I remember if I told this story or not, but I was at a Reds game and I saw a Michael Siani Reds jersey. I should have brought it with me into the episode today. But I found one sitting in their, the authentic shop. The Cardinals got one at Busch Stadium. They had one at Great American Ballpark. I went in there, saw Siani, and rescued it. I bought that sucker for like $150 to rescue Michael Siani. because nobody in Cincinnati was going to buy that jersey. So I bought him as a super fan. Yes, I had a few beers at this point when I did this. But point being, I love me some Michael Siani. I thought he was great. Should he be the starting center fielder next year? Probably not. Probably not. Probably best to be a left-handed bench bat. Obviously, defensive replacement, late in games, spot starter here and there when you need him. But he certainly earned a shot at the starting job in center field. Will he get it? Probably not. But we'll see. Hopefully, either he becomes better offensively or somebody like Victor Scott takes over center field, or maybe Lars Nootbaar becomes your center fielder. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think he was a great surprise in 2024. Let's move on to the starting rotation for our next surprise. I'm going to give you two names, actually. Let's do two. Let's start with Andre Pallante. Good old Andre. I got a photo of him. There he is. Ooh, that's a good face. Here we go. The rise of Andre Pallante this year. I think that was another one that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. I think most people figured he was going to be a reliever for most, if not all, of the 2024 season. And, in his rookie year, 2022, flashed promise. He won 6 games. His ERA was 3.17, ERA plus of 1.23, and he had that ability as a right-handed pitcher to still get out left-handed hitters. It was weird that the righties were the ones that gave him trouble. Then you had regression in 2023. The walks went up, the strikeouts went down, the ERA jumped to 4.76. His ERA plus drops down to 92. So coming into 2024, you were just hoping for a rebound of sorts. And after the first 9 games coming out of the bullpen, it was bad. He was 0-1. The ERA was over 6.30 to be exact. And teams were hitting 318 against him. And you're like, what happened to Andre Pallante? What happened to this guy? Did we break him too? What happened? Got to send him back to the minors because he's not doing well. No production at the major league level. And he gets sent down, but instead of remaining in the bullpen, Palante and the Cardinals agree to move him back to a starting role. That was something that Andre wanted to do. Cardinals were like, yeah, well, let's give it a try. Let's see what's up. And boy, oh boy, did that end up being a good decision, because he comes back at the end of May. May 29th is a starter the rest of the year, makes 20 starts at the end of it all, goes 8-7, 3.56 ERA. He strikes out 88 hitters with just 43 walks, becomes a viable starter in the rotation. And he's one of the reasons why veterans like Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn have become expendable this offseason. If there's no Pallante, they probably are like, gosh, I guess we got to keep one of them. Kyle Gibson's probably still a Cardinal. That's probably the case. And they would have to pay him more money. So Pallante's not making much. So that worked out well. Also want to show some love to Michael McGreevy. Michael McGreevy, definitely a big surprise. I should say big, but a good surprise. Former first-round pick in 2021, had not really set himself apart from anyone during his time in the minor leagues. And I caught some hell from fans earlier this year when I was like, Michael McGreevy, I mean, what a turnaround story. And they're like, what do you mean turnaround? He was a first-round pick. He's supposed to be good. I'm like, yeah, but he hadn't been all that great in the minor leagues. There wasn't anything that made him stand out. Like, he just seemed like every other run-of-the-mill minor league starting pitcher. And I know it takes time for some of these guys to get comfortable and do what they need to do. And, maybe he's facing better pitching now or hitting now. But in 2023, he goes 11-6, but his ERA is at 4.49 with AAA Memphis. The whip's at 1.467, only 107 strikeouts and 134 innings. Like, if I just gave you those stats, you're not going to say, hey, first round pick, right? No, you're going to think that that's just an ordinary minor league starter. So this year, he's at 5-7. That's his record this year. 4.45 ERA at Memphis. Nothing about that stands out, right? July 31st, the Cardinals call him up for a spot start against the Texas Rangers. And Michael McGreevy just blows him away. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, tremendous job. Not a lot of strikeouts, but just attack the strike zone. He was all over it. And the Rangers had no answers. A tremendous job. Certainly raised some eyebrows from all of us. I remember the post-game interview with Tommy Pham, and they're like, he's like, spot starter? Man, we got to keep this guy around or something to that effect. So they sent him back down to Memphis because, again, it was supposed to be a spot start. And he goes back down, and in August, he ends up going 2-1 with a 2.83 ERA. He makes 2 more starts in September. He wins both those games for AAA Memphis before getting called back up and ends up making 3 more starts with the Cardinals, and he goes 2-0, and the Cardinals end up winning all 3 games that he appears in. He gives up 4 runs over 16 innings, strikes out 15, has an ERA of 2.25. Opponents only hit 193 against him. He, like Pallante, made these high-priced veterans much more expendable. They made the Cardinals front office, made their job a whole lot easier to say, we're not going to, trigger those options for you guys. The club options, we're out. We got 2 guys who can do something like that. So, and now his hat has been thrown into the ring for a starting rotation spot to open up the 2025 season. And the Cardinals, they still got Sonny Gray, who apparently doesn't want to leave anymore. That's the reports. Eric Fetty is still here. Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz are still here, with Pallante and McGreevy, who in my eyes are the 2 next logical rotation guys if something were to happen, if some trades go down. Like moving Michaelis and Matz is clearly something that the Cardinals are looking into so they can open up a spot and drop some payroll. Both of them are making way more money than they should, considering what you're getting in return. So, I mean, someone's got to want Matz, right? At least. I understand why nobody would want Michaelis. It's going to be hard to trade him. But Matz, I feel like somebody's got to be interested in him. Being like, one of those swing guys, left-hander. Somebody, right? Anybody? Anywho, so that's how I look at the biggest surprises from the rotation and this year and going into 2025. We're going to make our way down to the bullpen for our final good surprises from the 2024 season next on Locked On Cardinals. There's not a whole lot of things better than going to a live sporting event, whether you're going to a baseball game during the summer or right now, you've got the Blues, you've got hockey, got basketball, football, and of course, the baseball games. With the Gametime app, you're going to be able to find tickets to all of your favorite events, the things that you want to go to, whether it is Blues hockey, whether it is college basketball, you want to go see Mizzou or SLU or, hey, Southern Illinois, any of these. They're going to have your tickets available to all your favorite sporting events. They just are. All Elite Wrestling is coming to St. Louis in December. Wrestling fans everywhere, I'm sure you're interested in going to see that as well. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. It's why Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets for all your sporting events. And it's not just sports. Like, you can be into other things. I love going to I need to go to a concert here soon. I need one of those nights where you can just rage a little bit. And concerts, they've got you covered there. What about comedy? What about theater? All of this stuff. Gametime app's going to help you out. Flash deals, all-in pricing. Download the Gametime app. I'm telling you, get it, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during the offseason. We've got all the Juan Soto talk you could possibly want. Corbin Burns, all of the stuff, all these top free agents, Blake Snell, whoever it may be. Sully's going to talk about it. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, Ryan Helsley had a career year, and we could easily put him down as a good surprise considering how dominant he was. But I think a lot of us knew he was a good reliever. So when he's healthy, we expect good things out of Ryan Helsley. So I'm going to roll with some guys that I think we had question marks about coming into the season. I want to start with Ryan Fernandez, and then I want to go to Matthew Liberatore. So Ryan Fernandez, Rule 5 pick from the Red Sox. Remember, 23rd round pick out of Hillsborough Community College in Tampa back in 2018. Solid numbers in the minors. 17-10 record, 3.33 ERA. Had played at all three minor league levels in 2023. And the Cardinals were able to snag him from Boston. Thank you, Chaim Bloom. I'm sure you had something to do with that. And we're able to get him, and he becomes a key cog for the Cardinals bullpen throughout the entire season. You get 62 appearances out of him. He has an ERA of 3.51, the ERA plus of 120, strikes out 71 hitters in 66 2/3 innings. Andrew Kittredge, who I loved with the Cardinals this year, I wish we would bring him back, but they're not going to because they don't want to pay him. He's a free agent. I'm guessing that Ryan Fernandez and his gorgeous mustache will be at the top of the pecking order to take over that particular role this upcoming season. Now, in an article from Derek Gould at STLtoday.com, Fernandez said that this offseason, the biggest thing for him on how to improve what he did this past year is by putting a little bit more strength back on. This year, he said he had a little bit less strength than he'd had in the last 2 years. That showed up in his velo a little bit. He says, I'm not way down. The only reason I say that is because I topped 99 the last 2 years, and I haven't hit 99 this year. It's not a big deal. I've shown I can be very successful without that. I just would like to have that in my back pocket if I want. Sounds good to me. Like, I am on board with that. Now, the one thing you have to remember is when it comes to velo, if it's straight as an arrow, who gives a crap? They're going to hit the snot out of it if it's a straight ball, which is why some guys need to learn to take a little bit off to get a little bit more movement on their fastballs and on their pitches because they throw them so hard where there's no movement and they become easier to hit despite how hard they're throwing it. So I'm sure he's got to find a balance there, but it wouldn't be nice to just have, like he said, 99 miles per hour in his back pocket to unleash if he needed to. The next guy is a guy who did hit 99 this year on a couple of occasions, Matthew Liberatore. That is not Matthew Liberatore. That was Pallante. There we go. Matthew Liberatore. You know the story here. Former first-round pick by Tampa Bay, traded for Randy Arozarena, comes a postseason star with the Rays, all-star outfielder. He's now with the Mariners. Meanwhile, Libby continued to fall short of expectations. A lot of pressure on him to live up to what Randy Arozarena was doing with his former team. And it just takes a little while for pitchers to develop for the most part. It just usually does. Outside of Paul Skeens, like, it's not normal for them to just come right up and just start killing everybody. Spencer Strider, another one of those that just, whoop, there he is. With Libby, things weren't working out as a starter. You wanted him to be a starter. You were hoping he would be a starter. It wasn't working out. And then they'd move him to reliever, and then they'd give him another spot starter too, and then he'd go back to relieving and just kind of back and forth. And when eventually he gets locked in as a reliever, and personally, I was just really impressed with the results. It was a very good surprise for me. As a starter this past year, small sample size, take it for what it's worth, 6 starts this year. 1-2 record, the ERA at 6.35. As a reliever, 54 appearances, 2-2 record, 3.69 ERA. And as I've said before, at this point, find something that he does well and let him roll with it. Let him get his, his confidence up. Because at one point, I'm sure he was very confident. And then this year, when he was in that reliever role and that was his thing, you could see him exuding confidence on that mound where he'd come out and just rip right through people's lineups. And he was a guy who could give you a couple of innings if you needed to. It wasn't just a one and done type of guy. Obviously, righties are going to hit him better than lefties, which is not a shocker. But why can't Matthew Liberatore be a Tanner Scott light type of guy for the Cardinals this upcoming season? You know, Scott didn't actually find his groove until after he left Baltimore at age 26. He didn't really figure things out until he got to the Marlins, and his last 2 years have been incredible. Libby just turned 25. He's still a young man. The potential is there. We've seen it in flashes, and maybe this is the year where if that's his role and he stays right there, it all comes together for him. maybe if Ryan Helsley gets moved, he is kind of your closer in waiting with his arsenal. Maybe they just go with bullpen by committee when it comes to closing out games. Just like, who's available today? Is it JoJo? Is it Fernandez? Who else we got out there? Matthew Liberatore. Maybe they do it that way. Maybe it's not just one guy they rely on every time. But I was pleasantly surprised at how much better he was in the reliever role this year and how much confidence he gained and how much better he was. Some other surprises that I want to give some honorable mention to. Pedro Pajes behind the plate. Was he on anybody's radar coming into the season? No, but his capability of handling the pitching staff. And because Wilson Contreras got hurt this year, like, he and Ivan Herrera are going to tackle that catcher's role this year. And Wilson Contreras is able to move down to first base and fill a need that the Cardinals have now that Paul Goldschmidt is out of the picture. It makes that move a lot less stressful. Alec Burleson's strong year, also a solid surprise. The only reason I didn't mention him as like a bigger one is he's a second-round pick and has shown the ability to be able to hit really, really well in the minor leagues. So it's not as if we didn't think he could hit. He just had to do it at the major league level. And we keep forgetting that Alec Burleson was only in his second season in the major leagues. It's not like he's a 4-year veteran still trying to figure it out. He was in year 2. He was a rookie in 2023. And then this year, 269 average, 21 dingers, 78 RBIs. Nothing to sneeze at by any means. Splits between lefty and righties obviously is very drastic, very drastic. 292 hitter, 18 home runs, 66 RBIs, OPS plus of 125 against righties, 196, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, OPS plus of 45 against lefties. But a heck of a second year for Burley, who, he's going to play some corner outfield and some first base, I'm sure, this year against right-handed pitching. Also, a shout out to Brendan Donovan for holding down left field as well. When all those injuries took place and all these guys were gone, it was Brendan Donovan who took over left field and never relinquished it, really. He was very solid in left field. Whether he's in left, second, or third base this year, we don't know yet. But Donnie deserves all the love for his ability to handle every single position he goes to defensively very, very well. And coming off the elbow injury in 2023, solid year at the plate, 278, 14 home runs, 73 RBs, OPS plus of 112. The WAR was at 2.6. You got to love you some Brendan Donovan as well. He's one of those glue pieces that every team needs. So those are my good surprises. Are there any ones that you would have added outside of the ones that I've mentioned here? Let me know in the comment section down below, and we can talk about them at a future date. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube to help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. We are once again, we're so close to 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. Who's going to be the magical 11,000th person? Could it be you? If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. And thank you for watching Locked On Cardinals. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason, and we'll see you next time.